Hello, survivors. We are so grateful to be able to meet with you tonight and have some special guests. They're a little bit special to my heart because it's my sister, Eliza, and her husband, Eric, and the cutest ever and wonderful Halle, Faye. We're so grateful to have the Woodlands with us tonight. Hey, Woodlands, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Very, very, very good. So we are excited to have the Woodlands tonight for part of our SRVIVRS Inspires. And we think that they have some amazing contributions. I think that as you listen to them, you'll find why we picked them as one of our inspirational stories and speakers. In fact, they were, we'll cover this a little bit later, but they were in a 3-part series here in the Black Hills area in one of the newspapers for part of their inspiring story, and we'll get to that a little bit later. So we're excited to have them tonight. Liza is my youngest sister. When you were born, Liza? 1981?
Yep.
And so let's see, that makes you, this was the big 4. Oh, holy smokes, that means I'm getting old. So, Halle, and you're the big 1-8 this year now, right?
Yes.
Holy cow.
I can't believe that. I remember the day that Halle was born into this world, and it was, and they'll go into it, but she's a miracle, and we're so grateful that she's in our family, and she just makes this world a brighter place. So
definitely inspirational,
so
Halle.
Yep.
Tonight, Halle, I want to see at least 3 thumbs ups, okay? Oh, there's one already. Good. Okay, that's awesome. So I'm going to ask for your thumbs up a couple more times tonight, okay? Can you do that for me? Awesome. So we wanted to start tonight by just thanking everybody for following and participating, and reminding everybody that this month, the theme and service that we are trying to coordinate through SRVIVRS is Move in Motion.
Move in memory.
Move in memory. Move in motion. Yep. Move twice. So move in memory. And what that means is we are encouraging people as part of their healing or part of just living their daily life to try and brighten their day by thinking of somebody who's passed on and going out for a walk in their memory, or going for a run, or participating in a race, whatever it is that you want to do, go biking, swimming, anything. But have that person on your heart and your mind when you go in, and if you want to hold a piece of paper up and with their name or a picture, and take a picture and post it to SRVIVRS, we would love to see any of those. But we're inviting people this month of September to move in memory. And we're going to be talking a little bit. We have a couple things, Eric and Liza tonight, and then on the 24th, our SRVIVRS Connect is actually going to be focused on some tools, or talking about a little bit how physical exercise and moving can be therapeutic and healing for us in our grief, or in other times in our life where we just need a little bit of pick-me-up, that getting out and moving your body helps change things. So with that said, welcome again, Woodlands. And we're going to have Eliza tell us, just, I think, because it's interesting, a little context, Eliza, to a little bit about you and your history and life and the miracle and inspiration that you are, just the fact that you're with us here tonight. Youngest bone marrow transplant that University of Utah had ever done at that time in 1992. So over to you, Eliza. Tell us a little bit about your growing up and experience.
So like Josh mentioned, 32 years ago, I was 8 years old, and that's when my experience of being a survivor started. I was diagnosed with ALL leukemia and battled with that for 2 years. And about 2 months after my treatments finished, it came back pretty aggressively. So I had a bone marrow transplant. And that did the trick, but with the transplant came a lot of side effects, and or a lot long-term effects. And one of those is not being able to have children. So I'll get to that in a little bit. But during that experience as a child, our family was overwhelmed with the amount of people, not just family that came to help us out, but just one experience in particular with my transplant. In order to do that, I had to have an extensive amount of blood transfusions, and they asked our family to have people come donate. And we had an overwhelming response from my dad's work. He worked at American Fork Post Office, and they had, I don't know, 15 to 20 people come and donate blood at the University Hospital Blood Bank, and just things like that that were necessary for me to have my transplant. So that's when survivors and service started in our family. And fast forward, not very many years later, this little miracle came. But like I said, I wasn't supposed to be able to have kids. So she was definitely a miracle. And she came at 23 weeks. So that's about 5 months gestation. And she was born with quite a few complications and a pretty bleak prognosis. But here she is 18 years later. She has cerebral palsy, right? And she lives every day with smiles and just a joy in her life. So her condition is that she has pretty good use of her hands, but she is wheelchair dependent, and she loves her wheelchair, scooting around the house, but that definitely has put limitations on her. So part of our story tonight is how our family has tried to be survivors in serving Halle as we keep her moving about. So Josh, do you want me to kind of talk about some of the things Halle does?
Halle, thumbs up. Yeah. Awesome mom, right?
So I'll kind of talk about the stuff
I'm just gonna butt in just for a second. What Liza just said was the most underwhelming and understatement statement of her growing up. It was years, 8 years old to how old were you when you got the bone marrow transplant?
I turned 11.
Yeah, so 3 years of lots and lots of very hard days, weeks, months for the Nehring family, to say the least for Eliza. I remember going to the hospital at some point, and Liza, the most that she ate in a day was drank this much liquid, like the size of my pinky, tip of my pinky. And we felt like that was a massive accomplishment for her to drink that and not throw it up. Just unbelievable life, and to have her with us is such a miracle. I remember as a child fearing so much that we wouldn't have her, and just the miracle that she is, and all the service that our family had is incalculable. Just unbelievably amazing. So thanks, Liza, for sharing that part with us. Let's have Eric, do you mind sharing just a little bit? Why don't you share just a minute how you two met, and then share with us what you just recently accomplished, which was kind of a big move in memory occasion.
Yeah, for sure. So Eliza and I met
not the real mushy details, okay?
So Eliza and I met down at Snow College in Ephraim, Utah. It's a little junior college, and we lived just on, in an apartment complex, and I don't know, we just became fast friends and close, and married in 2000, and we've been married 21 years this year. So we've had quite an exciting 21 years, especially with this little one. She came to us in 2003. So, Josh alluded to something we did this year. So for a while, my cousin and I and my sister, we talked about doing a ride in memory of my grandfather. I never knew my grandfather. He was a police officer and was killed in the line of duty in 1964 in a little town in southern Idaho called Downey. And he was killed by some some guys that were trying to break into the grain co-op, and he happened to stumble upon him, and he was shot and killed on July 16th, 1964. And so in memory of him, we actually gathered this last July on the 17th. So it would have been the morning after he was killed 57 years ago to the day. And we rode in memory of him from Downey, Idaho to Logan, which the route we chose was right at 57 miles. And so in memory of him, we rode from his house in Downey, Idaho to his graveside, where he's buried. And I think from my perspective, you know, waking up on a Saturday morning, we left Downey at 6 o'clock in the morning, and to think 57 years ago that would have been just like that morning, waking up and realizing that your dad is gone. My father was only 16 at the time. He had 4 other siblings that were younger than he was. And, you know, just riding from Downey at 6 o'clock in the morning and the sun coming up, and just remembering and just riding miles for him, I think, you know, never having known him, just brought it a pretty neat, special experience for us. So Liza, myself, my cousin Jonathan, and my sister Sandra rode that ride in memory of him. Just a neat experience, you know. So 57 miles on a bike, that's the longest I've ridden on a bike. And it was something to really think about, and in memory of him, and thinking about how he's touched our lives, even though he hasn't been around for, you know, 5 decades, almost six decades. And it was a pretty emotional experience, I think, for all of us, something that we want to continue to do. We recently got a bike trailer for Halle, and so next year the plan is that we're going to ride with her and do the same thing on the closest Saturday that's to that day, and ride in memory of him again, and do that with Halle next year. So that's a story that I have with my grandfather, and then riding in memory of him.
What day was that again, Eric?
So he was killed on July 16th, 1964.
All right, we'll have to look at our calendars and let us know when you're doing that.
So I just had a question. So you said that was very emotional, and did you feel a closeness to him when you were doing that bike ride? And how was that experience?
For sure. I think, you know, just being there, it was like, you know, emotional, because you were on the streets that he was on. We rode past the place where he was killed. You know, it was exactly like it would have been 57 years ago. That the city of Downey has never fluctuated in population. It was 800 then, and it's 800 now. And so it's literally the exact same as it was. And, you know, just to think that he was there, and we did it in memory of him, and to think, you know, especially what my grandmother and my father and his siblings went through. She never remarried. She was a stay-at-home mom, and she was a nurse in World War II, and then she became just a nurse at the hospital there to make ends meet. So she worked the night shift so she could take care of the kids at home, and the sacrifice that she made, you know. And so in a lot of ways, it was a memory of her as well, because she's buried right next to my grandfather in Downey, or in Logan Cemetery.
Wow.
So, you know, in memory of both of them, really, and the sacrifice that she made, but also certainly the sacrifice that he made in the line of duty. And, you know, I guess the feeling we have for law enforcement and first responders, I think is pretty special, you know, they have a special place in our heart just because of the sacrifice that they make to us, or for us.
Wow, that's amazing.
You know, and that's kind of that is the epitome of what we expect and hope for people to happen. Not everybody's going to bike 57 miles, but I really have a deep belief and conviction that when we do things in honor of those who have passed on, many times that window of proximity is opened, and we can feel a closeness, an understanding, or even if it's like, as you said, just almost a sense of reality of what that was like for them. It creates a potentially sacred and cool experience where you can feel a connection that you don't normally get with that. And so that's awesome. Thanks, Eric, for sharing that with us. Very
Stace, what's the theme in memory movement?
Move in memory.
Move in memory. This is just a little insight to how Halle motivates me, and how, although she's here with us, she lives each day with loss. You know, there's things in her life that she's limited with. And every day this week, now that you said this, I've done something hard. My exercises have been extremely difficult, and I've pushed myself, and every single time I'm doing it, or I'm in the last stretch, I say out loud, Halle's not with me, but I say it out loud, that I'm doing this for you, Hal, I'm doing this for you. And so that's, for me, the movement for me is so I can care for her. And those hard moments are when I think, you know, I gotta do this so I can do it for you, right?
Yeah. That's so cool.
Well, we should mention too, Eliza is actually a personal trainer, licensed personal trainer with FAV Fitness, F-A-V Fitness. You can look it up online.
F-A-Y-V.
F-A-Y-V. F-A-Y-V but you can look her up online. Or do you have a social media or online website?
Right now, just a website, and
okay.
I soon will have Instagram. So
do you have your any of your like planning books and your exercises or any of that stuff on there?
Nope, it will be soon, hopefully in 2022.
Okay, well, keep us posted. We'll share that on Survivors and let people know when that's available. So
I just you guys like inspire me with Halle. Ever since she was a young baby, she just required a lot of care, like that you're serving her every minute of every day. And how has, like, you have it, and for me, service it really helps me come out of myself. It helps if I'm having a bad day. I don't always feel like serving, but when I do, I feel better. So I guess if you're having a bad day, we all have them. How has constantly serving Halle helped you with that?
really good question.
Well, I think for me, it's almost like you have to change your perspective a little bit, because, you know, when you think of it in terms of service, we are serving her. But just me personally, just trying to change my thought process and my thought about what it is to serve her and what that means, would probably make some of those harder days even more, more easy, just to think through it from a service perspective. But I mean, I can't take any credit as far as the service goes, and taking care of Halle. Eliza does so much of it every single day. And, just I'm in awe of her and what she does every day for Halle. And I think the two of them together is unbelievable, the connection that they have. They are connected in a lot of ways. And
Kind of creepy.
I see it from an outside perspective more so in what they do for each other, but certainly what Liza does for Halle on a daily basis, for sure.
And Stace, I call it my gift. Halle's my gift, that she keeps my priorities in check, and that when life starts to get complicated and maybe things that aren't so important, she brings the important things full force for me. She just reminds me of what's most important in life, and one of my mantras is enjoy today, whether it's a good or a bad day, because we never know what's ahead. And but no, we've got a system, and people think it's hard, but it's Team Halbert, right? The Team Woodland, whatever you want to call us. But yeah, there's days that, you know, there's hurt and challenge, but for the most part, I'm just glad that she's healthy, as healthy as she is, and I'm as healthy as I am to be able to lift. I lift her. Somebody asked me how many times I get her in and out of the car each day with her wheelchair. It's like, oh, maybe 2 or 3. And then I started counting, like, it's more like 10 or 12 or 16. And I'm like, I didn't even realize that, just, you know, so.
Eliza moves. She goes all sorts of places. And I think that's one thing that I commend her on, is that we don't let Halle just sit around. We're moving a lot with her and keeping her active with our different, you know, projects and different things. And Halle loves being in her chair. And so any place we go, she's there in her chair. She wants to be involved. And I think, you know, kudos to Eliza for just keeping her involved in so many different things. Like, I mean, it's pretty amazing, the things that Eliza's kept her involved in. It's pretty cool.
Do you want to tell us a few of the things that I think it's amazing that Halle does?
Should we tell them about your crazy things? So Halle's been riding her horse Daffodil for probably 13 or 14 years. Almost every single week, with the exception of, you know, COVID and some other things, but almost every week.
So Daffodil is a Norwegian fjord, which is a horse that is like a miniature draft horse, super wide and stable, but really pretty horse.
Beautiful.
And they've got the mane cut really short, so it's like a mohawk. And Halle's been riding the same horse for 13 years.
She was her first rider.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty cool.
So another thing, so that's at the National Ability Center here in Park City, Utah. And the other thing she does that's cool is she goes skiing on a bi-ski, and I go with her, and they're not fragile with her.
No.
They take her to the top, literally the top of the ski lift. And I went with them and wanted to cry.
Like multiple ski lifts,
Yeah.
not just the top of the one. They get to the one, then to the next, and to the next.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
And
then they wait for me at the bottom, because that's how fast they go, huh?
All the way to the top, huh, Halle?
And she swims at school.
we just recently got a 4-wheeler. We kind of extended the seat on the 4-wheeler so she can sit in the back with us.
Wow.
So we go on 4-wheeler rides and bike rides and running with her, and what other stuff? Just hiking. We've gone on some hikes where we've had to carry her chair different places. I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
maybe in segue of talking about the triathlon, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years ago, we decided we want to start running with Halle. And we've done several 5Ks, several 10Ks, and then we've each pushed her in some halves. And then we've always wanted to do a triathlon, but didn't have the biking capabilities until this year. So
we have to back it just a little bit. When we started running, we had a good friend of ours. His name's Perry Dixon. He lived across the street from us. And he did a GoFundMe raise for an adaptive stroller, running stroller for Halle. And so he put that together. He presented it to us, and super awesome, because it was a great experience for us to get her in there and then just get moving. So it's a lot easier to run with that than the wheelchair and so forth. Well, you know, fast forward 6 years, he's now started and opened up running a bike store in Heber called Slim and Nobby's. It's a bike store, and they donated a running/biking stroller, this kind of an upgraded version of what he got for us, 6 years before. And so this transitions from the bike to the run, which kind of helped us kind of put in motion the opportunity to do this triathlon with Halle and use this running stroller that you pull behind the bike, and then you flip the lever and it goes down, and you can convert it into a running stroller. So it makes, from a transition standpoint, pretty
Halle,
seamless.
do you like to go fast in the bike trailer?
Yes.
She wants us to go faster and faster.
Yeah.
But it's hard to ride with her in the back because it's like a big parachute. She's, the whole bike and trailer combo is about, I don't know, 15 feet long. And so the first couple of rides we did with her were pretty fun, because we'd roll up to a stop sign and we'd have to like make sure we were clear so that we could get all the way through the stop sign and then get to pedal. Well, it's a constant pull on the bike. So normally when you're riding a bike, once you get going, you're pretty well, you can just keep moving. But with her on the back, it's a much
Uphill.
different
It's
experience.
Uphill, no matter what.
But it's fun though, right? She just wants us to go faster. So we got to get in better shape to go fast.
Halle, do you like the wind in your face?
Yeah.
Is that what you like about going fast on skiing too, is having the wind in your face?
Yes.
That's cool.
She's a daredevil.
Cool.
Oh, one thing we didn't tell you is we just went to Florida, so we keep her active.
Oh, yeah.
We went to Universal Studios in Florida and we put her on all of the roller coaster except for one. So she did all sorts of roller coasters with us, and we had a good time. So
the very first one we put on was probably the most wicked that she went on.
it was
crazy.
She had a good time. She liked it, but you wanted to go on them, huh? Because they were fast and scary. She likes that kind of thing.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. So you were recently involved in the Southern Hills Triathlon. You finally made that dream come true here in South Dakota. Actually, our whole family, most of our family besides Grace, did it. But really cool that you were able to do it with Halle. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I've always the last, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, I've always wanted to try a triathlon, but it was always something that was like, oh man, there's no way I could do a triathlon. And Josh invited us to come out to do this triathlon in South Dakota, and it was a perfect size, so it wasn't super daunting, but still challenging. And then we started putting the pieces together with Halle and her chair, and I think Josh suggested, like, let's each do a different leg with Halle. And so we went out there and had a great time. So Josh did the swim, I did the bike, and Eliza did the run. But so we did all 3 events, but one of each of the events we did with Halle. And I think from my perspective, it was a pretty neat experience, just because we could keep her involved, but doing something physically challenging that I never really thought that I could do. And so I think that was a big challenge. That was something that we accomplished together as a family. And I thought, I don't know, I can't say enough about it. I think it was a pretty neat experience for all of us.
So I got to just ride behind Eric and Halle. So it wasn't that difficult because I didn't have the trailer on the back of me. So I was just soaking in that I had just finished that swim that I had I floated in. I didn't swim very good, but I floated in. But so on my bike, I was sitting there just able to ponder, and I just started bawling that we were out in Rapid City on, doing this triathlon, and watching these two, and it was just beautiful. And I was just so overwhelmed with like how lucky we were to be able to do this as a family, and just Josh made it possible, because there's no way we would have ever consented if we had to swim with her. So, it was really, really a really neat experience for all of us to just do that together, to accomplish it together, our first one all together. So
Yeah, I have to tell you, so a friend of mine, she was supporting her husband. So she was just watching the whole thing. And she just said that when she saw you guys go in the water with Halle, she just started bawling, just because it was just such a tender, inspiring thing. She just loved it so much. And then when I saw you guys on the bike, totally the same, like I got teary-eyed. I just got such a good feeling. I was like, what an amazing thing that these parents of Halle, Eliza and Eric, are doing for Halle. Like, it's so cool. Just awesome.
Yeah.
You like it, Hal?
Yeah.
Was it fun?
Best day ever, right, Halle?
So Josh got to be your kayak driver. What do you think about that?
That's pretty cool. So Josh, what did you think about it? How did you feel about the swim?
Ignorance sometimes is one of the biggest blessings you can have. And that's how I was going into that, is very ignorant. But it turned out that I had the easiest job of all of us, because I didn't have to have any fear in my heart about when I was out there in the open water swimming, because I was attached to a kayak. I was not going to ever drown. I was attached. Halle was going to keep me floating. I got tired, right, Halle?
Uh-huh.
You had a big life. You were pulling a big life preserver.
Yeah, it was really cool. And honestly, I really was ignorant. I had no idea how it would be. And that day was perfect because there was no wind, and Halle was so light. I barely ever even felt any resistance at all. And mostly it was just when I couldn't swim in a straight line, I kept getting told by the lifeguards,
Oh gosh.
turn right, turn left, turn right, because I couldn't swim in a straight line.
I think one time you did 180 degrees in that
Yeah.
turnaround.
Maybe I did. I was looking for some extra mileage, right, Halle?
Yes.
So, but it was emotional for me. And I remember probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, hearing about Dick and Rick Hoyt, father and son combination. And I remember being moved so much by that man and seeing the joy in Rick, his son, in the races. He loved the wind in his face too, Halle, and he wanted his dad always to go faster. And I remember in my heart saying to myself, I would love to be able to do something like that for somebody someday. Like, that would be one of my total dreams, to be able to have that honor and be able to provide the legs, the feet, whatever, the motion for an individual. And so when Eric and Liza, when you guys signed up to participate and let me do that, that was truly one of my life bucket list accomplishments. And not even accomplishment, honor, like a privilege, total privilege. And I love Halle. I've loved Halle from the day that she was born, and I have felt from the day that she was born that she would do miracles, not only in other people's lives, but that she would do miracles for me, and she has done miracles for me. So to be able to be in the water with Halle and have her all cinched in and life jacketed up and sunglasses and sunscreened on and her hat, she looked just as cool cat as can be. And then I couldn't believe when we were done. It was like, that's it, we're done, Halle, we're done. And I said, well, we got to wait for your parents, they're about a half an hour out still. So
We weren't that far behind you.
You're pretty far.
It was survival. You just had to like survive the thing. right?
Okay.
So we were the last ones in the water and the last ones out of the water. So
I call myself a survivor because I never get nervous for events. I've trained for them. I'm ready for them. And I wanted to throw up when I was getting in the water. I was scared out of my mind to do that.
So Josh, when you got in the water and you took off, I said, well, as long as we can stay with the raft, we'll be good. Well, you get in the water, we get in the water, and you took off and we couldn't keep up. And so Liza starts to panic and she's like, we're not going to be able to keep up. We're not going to be able to keep up. And I said, Liza, calm down, get on your back, take some deep breaths. And from that point on, she just was a rock star the entire time. And
Well,
kept going. I think it was definitely the longest swim I've ever done. And I don't think I've ever even swam in open water, let alone,
I had the same panic attack too. I couldn't even breathe. And then I'm like, okay, just take it easy.
deep breaths.
Yeah. So one thing that was a little bump in the road, I guess, for the race was your flat tire. Do you want to tell us about that and how you got through that last half of the run?
It was
brutal.
about right when we turned around. So it was the mile and a half. So we were close. I don't know. We had just over a mile left, right?
Yeah.
And I know we had at least two hills to come back.
And you
I
were
was
pushing, right, Liza?
Yeah, I was pushing Hal, and I looked down and I could see it was going flat.
Yeah.
And so we knew we were too close to try to do anything about it. So
And then no.
I have to admit, I was smiling the whole time until that happened, and I was a little bit ticked off and running. Eric was trying to be a helpful teammate and wondering what he could do, and
No.
I very stubbornly said, "This is my leg.
This is my leg. I'm taking it."
Leave me alone.
Way to go, Liza.
That's right.
So
Well, and Southern Hills is aptly named because there's not a flat road in that entire run or ride.
Yeah.
Many hills.
yeah.
Well, I can tell you that Brendan Murphy, who spoke last week on our survivors share, that was one of the delights for him, is having you guys participate and have Halle come out. He'd never, that triathlon event has never had that happen. Halle was the first place, personal and best record for a situation like yours. So we all set records, and but I know Brendan and a lot of other people, as Stacy was mentioning, were very, very moved. And I think it speaks so much, the belief and the conviction that service just can do magic that other things just cannot. When you're serving somebody else and doing something in honor of somebody else, I say magic happens, miracles happen. And one of the miracles that for me that day was, I didn't plan it. I didn't even realize it until I was in the water and going and riding, is that 4 years to that very day, we were burying Lily. And because Stacy was signed up for that event.
I was going to do it that Labor Day weekend, the weekend before it happened.
Yeah, so obviously she didn't participate. She was at a funeral. But I would never have had that miracle if I hadn't committed and signed up with Halle. And because I had chose to sign up and do that with Halle, I ended up being in that place at that time. And I felt very lifted by Lily and others who have passed on. And I just thought it was amazing, was so amazing and so powerful for me to be out doing that. And there was 13 of our family and friends together that day, all doing it for our first time. And just to think that here we are 4 years ago, 4 years to the day, we're celebrating, we're together, we're having a great time. And it just was like, and we're not just doing that, but doing this with Halle. It for me, I probably can't put it in words very well, but it was very impactful for those two things to kind of just line up at the same time without even planning it. I didn't even plan it, I didn't even think about it.
He passed me I passed him on the race, on the run. And we just passed each other going different ways.
I was catching up to you. I was on you.
Anyways, you pulled someone, so you're good. Like Stacy, as I was passing, it's 4 years, and I was like, oh my gosh, but I definitely did have times in the race where I was pushing it really hard, and I said it out loud, like, this is for you, Lily, so just really special race all around for Halle and for Lily.
Yeah.
Or Halle, you definitely need a third thumbs up for sure.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Yeah. Any other things that you guys learned, felt, want to share? Eric, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say, I mean, I think from just the outpouring, I mean, Brendan made us feel so welcome. It was unbelievable. It was like an instant friendship, I felt, and just with our family and the interaction that we had with him, and we've wanted to, you know, make this a tradition. So I think next year we talked about maybe doing the Olympic version, right? The longer swim, the 24-mile bike ride, and the 10K. So that's the goal for next year, is to do all that. So maybe we'll have to switch up who gets to pull and push.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to be attached to the life raft for this. Maybe all of us will hook up to it and swim and tow.
There you go.
I think while you guys are just talking, my last thought is just with the people, all the survivors watching, that with this month being movement and in memory of people that we love or have lost, that how that movement can be, like we've talked, so emotional, so spiritual, so healing. I found with some of the really hard times with Halle and just whatever in life, that the movement and getting out there has literally been healing and a drug for me. And so I think that's a super important part of being a survivor, is moving, whether it's exercise or serving or just staying in motion, so that we can be a force for good in this world, and not let the hard things in life hold us back.
I love that, Eliza. I think that's,
Yeah.
we don't need to say anymore. That's right on point. Thank you guys so much for sharing your hearts with us and your lives, and for being an inspiration to us and many people around you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Halle, can you give your mom and dad a big juicy kiss? Oh, and a thumbs up.
Oh, and a thumbs up. Did you see that? The thumbs up.
Halle,
You thought he was
thumbs
gonna say
up.